For better or for worse, technology is advancing, from breathtaking art to beautifully rendered commercials. But today, I want to tell you a story. The story of a robot that changed the relationship between humanity and robots forever.
The year is 2013. Harlem was shaking and no one knew what the fox said. Our story takes place in the land of maple leaves and ice hockey, Mother Canada. Wherein two professors, David Harris Smith of McMaster University and Fraka Zeller of Ryerson University, are attempting to change the world by creating a social experiment, a piece of art that the whole world could participate in. But what to do, they wondered. Until one night, David had an idea. A talking hitchhiking robot that solely depended on the kindness of strangers. You see, throughout history, mankind has had a fear of technology, especially nowadays. So, they took that idea and they flipped it on its head. Instead of can humans trust robots, they asked the question, can robots trust humans? So they got to work, putting together a team of 15, and with Fraka recently moving to Canada, the project was well underway. Now, of course, they needed to have plenty of discussions on just how it was going to work. Just sending a robot out into the world is never a good idea, and the professors knew that. They simply let it walk on its own, it could create all sorts of problems. For example, falling into a manhole, kicking a dog, running into a wall, walking into someone's home unannounced.
Hang up that computer call.
Getting stuck in bushes, kicking a kid, running into traffic, causing traffic, hitting a biker, falling down a flight of stairs, rolling down a hill, walking off a cliff, getting hit by a flying object due to strong winds, and maybe even drown itself. So instead of having it be completely autonomous, they decided to have it be immobile. Sorry buddy, no legs for you. Another funny concern is that it could potentially be seen as a spy drone. They're planning on having it be able to take pictures to document its journey, and it's entirely possible that law enforcement could see that as a threat. And to help with public perception and people not mistaking it for a garbage can, they decided to engage in social media, creating a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook all made to look like HITCHBOT was controlling them personally. With a personality described as an upbeat, free-thinking robot with a love of exploration and electronic music, whose hobbies include horseback riding, football, baking cakes, and just generally being Canadian. And after a year of work, HITCHBOT was finally complete. Standing at 4 feet and weighing 15 pounds, made out of a bucket, metal rods inserted into pool noodles for arms and legs, and a cake saver topped with a trash can lid to protect the head. It comes equipped with yellow gloves, welly boots, car seat attached to butt for easier transport, solar panels,
the mighty sun,
LED face panels that can create specified animations, GPS, 3G, speech recognition, crowdsourced language software, built-in camera that automatically takes pictures every 20 minutes, and can even move her right hand and thumb to show drivers that she was hitchhiking. In total, HITCHBOT came to around $2,000. Not long after, HITCHBOT would be presented to the world, doing interviews, engaging more in social media, and even appearing in the news.
Starting on July 24th, the HITCHBOT will be dropped off in Nova Scotia, where he will then attempt to hitchhike his way to Victoria, British Columbia.
This summer, one lucky Canadian driver will receive a free robot.
The plan was simple. Set HITCHBOT on some random road, then have her bum rides from Halifax to Victoria, purely on the kindness of strangers. The project was actually gaining traction. They would even go on to create their own website, HITCHBOT.com, which can be viewed on the Wayback Machine. The website provided more info on the team as well as HITCHBOT herself, along with an interactive map, but I'll get more into that later. And with all of this good press, it was finally time to start her journey. David and his daughter would drive HITCHBOT all the way down to Halifax, but the very first thing that they did was go to an art gallery. HITCHBOT was an exhibit for about a day to build up hype, but no one came in. It was a Saturday and it was completely dead. But David at some point took HITCHBOT just 8 feet in front of the building onto a bench and almost immediately drew a crowd. The people were absolutely loving her, and this is a sign of what's to come. HITCHBOT is going to have one amazing journey.
But first, we should talk about some of the robots that paved the way for our sentient bucket. In 2009, Casey Kinzer created TweenBot, a barely 1 foot tall robot made out of cardboard. It moved at a constant, unchanging speed, and passerbys were encouraged to point, move, or kick it into the right direction based off what was written on the flag. The experiment would go extremely well. Whenever it would get stuck in a pothole or under a bench or curb, someone would actually come around and help it out. My favorite example is that at some point, due to the heat, the tread of the tire would come off, leading two random strangers to come together and successfully rebuild it. Another precursor to HITCHBOT is culturebot, which was actually made by David a couple years prior. Made out of a pasta strainer and a Roomba, culturebot would take pictures of art and then post it on its own personal Twitter, along with reviews that wouldn't make any sense. It would be taken to multiple galleries until David made a second model. It was the same general idea, except this time it was equipped with a thermal printer, and every 20 minutes it would produce its own original pieces of poetry. It apparently made over 20,000 poems while active, and they are just as unintelligible and random as you'd think. And I know you're curious to hear some of them, so I will read a couple for you now. A poem for my love.
In a small growth, for support and the bison, bulls are good weather. The ground on their country is not see a single file, and at the whole of this name, and 30 feet in breadth of this carried over, which I paid 3 inch higher thus, avoid going round. And for the Pacific Ocean, and was my intention from my men, had worn by our oldest hunter, only 600 miles of Great Britain and women. B. Superior, this lasted 40 feet. Below us was pronounced in the mouth of loam, tending on a high dry and night made. But it was the northward to be 26 yards and expounded with. Thomas told them rode down the gluttony, their supper. Too near their singing the scourge of these animals, the report of this. Poor, and from the point rising 1,120 feet. Descent of these measured us, the river before me. The experiment has finally begun. HITCHBOT was placed on the side of Highway 102, just outside of Halifax, and all David had to do was wait. For 1 minute and 40 seconds, when Brian and Ann Solner took it right into their camper.
When we plugged him in at the campground, she piped up and said, "I have a boyfriend."
And I said, maybe that was just because of the way I was carrying it around. I might have got too close to it. Kind of feel like it's a member of the family now. I check the website every day to see where it's gotten to.
Already it was going better than anticipated, taking pictures every 20 minutes and with permission would be posted on HITCHBOT's various social medias. She would go on to be the guest of honor at a Manitoulin powwow, have a tea party at the Empress Hotel, crash a wedding and end up partying so hard that she would accidentally fall and crack her protective case, all while news reports on her progress.
HITCHBOT has been doing just that, like seeing some yurts, visiting Canada's albino groundhog, and taking part in a traditional powwow.
HITCHBOT got off to a good start. He was only on the side of the road for 2 minutes.
Well, a futuristic hitchhiker currently making the trek across Canada right now.
I have many hobbies.
Maybe we just be quiet for a while, eh?
Yes.
But it doesn't quite end there. 3 hardcore gamers would track down HITCHBOT via social media and spend some time with her. They gave her a stuffed dog after she asked for a pet, and at some point even asked the group if they believe in God. HITCHBOT trying to low-key spread the good word. They would give her a meal before dropping her off at an information center where her journey can continue. Hanging out with the band The Wild at a bar before going to a tattoo and piercing shop, participating in the Ice Bucket Challenge, for those of you who remember that, and then going on a traditional canoe ride. And besides David and the team, who knows what other shenanigans she got herself into. On August 16th, she would hitch a ride on a ferry all the way to Victoria, and then some rides later on August 21st, 2014, after just 26 days, 6,753.63 miles, HITCHBOT made it to her final destination. To call the experiment a massive success would be an understatement. In that time, HITCHBOT was active for 397.75 hours, and somehow was perfectly intact. And all around the world, people were congratulating our little trash can.
It boarded a ferry this weekend to Victoria, 3 weeks after it started.
And it made its way across the country. It started in Halifax, arrived in BC yesterday.
She was gaining thousands of followers throughout her journey, and at this point was an actual celebrity. I honestly didn't realize how big the story was until doing research for this video, and people all over the world were asking her to tour their country, until eventually deciding on Germany.
Über 6.000 Kilometer trennte durch Kanada.
Nimm mich einfach mit.
Zeige ihm deine Stadt.
Except this time with a brand new HITCHBOT. The original, on top of being a little damaged, had so many loving mementos, stickers, and pins that they decided to keep it as is and create a whole new bot. The original was later turned into an exhibit at the Canadian Science and Technology Museum, where you can still visit it to this day. HITCHBOT 2.0 was pretty much exactly the same, except now it could speak German.
Natürlich kann ich dich verstehen. Wann fahren wir endlich los?
HITCHBOT.com also changed to My German Adventure, set to start on February 13th and end on February 22nd. So she packed all of her things and went on her next adventure. And to start, a crew from Air Canada Airlines would fly HITCHBOT all the way to Germany at no cost. And it would only get better from there. This time the plan was to go to 7 cities in just 14 days, with a map of places she wanted to see. Being placed at a gas station in Munich, there was already 12 people ready and willing to give her a ride. First being taken to this castle to enjoy the view, only on the same day get another ride to attend another wedding. Afterward being picked up by a marching band and even riding in a 6 sports car. Next, she would make another TV appearance to talk about her adventures and experience, which would immediately be overshadowed just 1 day later after making it to the Berlin Gate, where she was greeted by some embassy members. The rest of the journey would go normally, being picked up by some more kind individuals, and then ending on a keynote session at the Hamburg Social Media Week. The presentation would go great, and another successful journey has been completed. HITCHBOT was gaining more and more recognition, with an ever-growing list of followers by the day. At this point, everybody wanted to be a part of it. And on June 1st, some would have their prayers answered, announcing that HITCHBOT will grace the Netherlands with her appearance on June 6th. So she packed up once more and headed over and landed safe and sound on June 8th. But instead, this time, Fraka and David decided to chaperone her personally, calling it an arts and culture vacation. Seeing a live musical performance, getting a new robot dog companion, getting her own portrait painted, and even meeting a robot named Frog. Later going to an art gallery and proceeding to get mobbed. If HITCHBOT was a celebrity before, at this point she was basically Taylor Swift. With a continually growing fan base and support from all around the world, things could only go up from here. And with so many countries in mind, they decided on the land of golden opportunity, where misfits and outcasts like HITCHBOT could be welcomed. But they chose America instead. On July 6th, it would be announced. HITCHBOT would be taking on America, to hopefully travel from Boston, Massachusetts, all the way to San Francisco, California. And already people thought it was a bad idea.
This won't end well. Famous last words. Are you nervous, Hitchy? I'm a little concerned, but go for it. You will either get shot, run over, or somebody will think you are a bomb, or kidnapped and stripped for parts.
But nevertheless, David and Fraka pushed on, this time even giving HITCHBOT a bucket list of things she wanted to do. The list includes see the lights in Times Square, pose with the Lincoln statue, tan at Myrtle Beach, experience the magic of Walt Disney World, explore the Cloud Gate in Millennium Park, stand under the Gateway Arch, hear jazz music in New Orleans, be the 5th portrait on Mount Rushmore, see the geysers in Yellowstone National Park, be sleepless in Seattle, whatever that means, see the house from Pixar's Up, see jaw-dropping views at the Grand Canyon,
Vegas,
take a selfie with a Hollywood sign, climb the General Sherman tree, and do the wave at a sports game. Needless to say, they thought this was going to be another slam dunk, having a launch party beforehand and even giving HITCHBOT an upgrade. Now being able to know exactly what state she's in and talk about it, through fun facts and other conversation starters.
Do you know where you are right now?
Yes.
Where are you?
I am a robot. My family is a group of researchers working out of McMaster, Ryerson, and University of Toronto, in my home province of Ontario. I am hitchhiking across America.
July 17th, HITCHBOT's final journey. And it's already off to a bad start. Previously, it only took minutes for HITCHBOT to get her first ride, but this time David ate a whole lobster dinner in a nearby restaurant before eventually being picked up by a German family, who only picked her up because the kids recognized it and begged their mom to take it.
Oh, talk again to me!
Which brings up an interesting point. By then, it was actually more risky to leave HITCHBOT on her own because of just how famous she was. With the map constantly updating, people began scouting the streets and other places to find her. So because of just how sought after she was, the team had constant monitoring of social media and where HITCHBOT was, and the tracker would sometimes need to be turned off whenever someone brought it home with them.
Coming up on your right, nothing.
The rest of the trip would go smoothly though, hitching a boat ride, getting a free meal, going to a garden, and on July 24th not only being able to attend a Red Sox game, but being able to check off their very first item on the bucket list. And just a couple days later, checking off another item on the list for seeing Times Square. With 2 down and just 14 more to go, it looked like HITCHBOT was going to have another successful adventure. July 31st, HITCHBOT makes it to Philadelphia. Two YouTubers, Jesse Wellens and Ed Bassmaster, find HITCHBOT in front of a building while making a YouTube video.
This robot made it all the way across Canada in 26 days. So they decided for this summer to get it across America. So it started out in Massachusetts, it's been to like Fenway, it's been on like a fishing boat, it's been to...
After talking to some locals, Ed and Jesse would agree to unknowingly give HITCHBOT her final ride. They would place her on a bench at 133 and 2nd Street. They would attempt to get a taxi to take her farther, but to no avail. The team back in Canada also decided to take a break as it was the weekend, so they stopped monitoring HITCHBOT completely. So once Ed and Jesse left, HITCHBOT was completely alone.
After just 2 weeks on the road, HITCHBOT's life was cut short early yesterday morning.
It was left broken and in pieces in Philadelphia this past weekend.
A hitchhiking robot trying to make its way across the USA ended up meeting its fate in Philly.
And tonight, many of them are outraged at what happened here in Philadelphia.
Hiking robot that captured the hearts of fans worldwide met its demise in the U.S.
A Canadian experiment has come to an end.
On August 1st, the very next day, HITCHBOT would be found dead. The team would receive a tweet that day, rushing back into the office to have an emergency meeting to confirm the news. According to the autopsy report, she had been beaten with her arms and head ripped off, then was gutted alive, with not a single piece of machinery left behind. One report even suggested that she was, in order, beaten with a blunt object, stabbed, shot with paintballs, and then stabbed again. Now, we only have these two images of the deceased, and as funny as that would be, I don't think that's what happened. The news greatly shocked and saddened many. Some would take the opportunity to make a bunch of jokes, and others would full-on take a dump on the metaphorical grave. So to address the people, they would post this caption. They also wanted to get on top of this as quickly as possible. A large part of HITCHBOT's fans are children, so seeing their lovable character's corpse would probably scar them for life. But word was spreading, and it was spreading quite fast. Some would laugh, some would cry, but everyone wanted to know. Who killed HITCHBOT? Now, unfortunately, the suspect list is short, and there was next to no evidence left at the scene of the crime. The first suspects are the creators themselves. The theory is that Fraka and David wanted more fame, so they either destroyed HITCHBOT themselves or paid an assassin to take her out. This is the least probable idea. HITCHBOT was gaining more and more popularity by the day, with plenty of invitations from fans to go to other countries, so it just doesn't make any sense. Another suspect? The CIA. HITCHBOT wasn't just a foreigner, but potentially a spy drone. Perhaps David and Fraka's fears were proven correct, and the funny orange man had her killed.
The target is in sight, sir.
You tell me when. Hello?
Target neutralized.
Job well done. We're starting negotiations with Canada.
This theory is surprisingly more plausible, so I will put them under maybe. Our next suspects come from fellow YouTuber Internet Comment Etiquette. First, the taxi driver, one of the last people to see the victim alive. He would call the taxi service to ask some questions and ruled it inconclusive, until being contacted by the spirit of HITCHBOT herself to reveal that the true murderer was Ted Cruz.
Oh, shit.
Ted Cruz would apparently grow jealous of HITCHBOT, as he was a robot from Canada himself. Could this be possible? We need answers, Raphael Edward Cruz. He's a pretty wacky individual, so committing manslaughter on a robot isn't completely out of the question. This is a real tweet, by the way. Now, whether this video is satirical or not, I can't say, but Ted Cruz is our only lead, which is not a sentence I ever thought I would say, but with such little evidence, it's next to impossible to... What's this? A break in the case. On August 3rd, security footage would be released, showing the graphic murder. The assailant would appear at 5:43 a.m. at around 5'8", wearing a backwards cap, Eagles jersey, and a pair of baggy jorts. And at 5:45, he would proceed to hit, stomp, and rip off the arms. It seems that we may have finally found a solid lead. Except it's fake. On August 4th, the YouTubers who had previously given her her last ride revealed that it was all a fake video in an attempt to prank the news. So they just went to a store and built a mock HITCHBOT, and it actually worked. But a good portion of people started figuring it out very quickly. Fans of the YouTubers would notice almost immediately that the assailant was actually a character played by Ed Bassmaster. And the actual street doesn't have any security cameras on location, so we're back to square one. A reasonable theory is that the YouTubers did actually commit the murder, but it doesn't really make any sense now. They were the last people to see her alive, but why would YouTubers with a really decent following put in all of this work? It just doesn't add up. And with a lack of evidence and no solid leads, a murderer was sadly never caught. And with David and Fraka not interested in an investigation themselves, the case has gone cold. Some time would pass and HITCHBOT 2.0 would be rebuilt and sent to the Heinz Nixdorf Museum. Not before meeting Kevin Smith, of all people.
There's a picture of me sitting next to the headless HITCHBOT, man. I go look at a body, and I was like, yeah. And we all walked down the train tracks, there was HITCHBOT and shit, and we all took it differently.
People still felt the death of HITCHBOT in their hearts, but that's not where the story ends. Fraka and David would continue their work, doing presentations, possible documentaries, and maybe even a book deal. They would even be invited by an aerospace company to participate in the development for a robot to be used in the International Space Station. In 2019, they would build HITCHBOT 3.0, with no intention of letting it out as it probably still has PTSD.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
They would take HITCHBOT out to a cafe near the university, only to have it be instantly recognized and swarmed by fans. And this is what I think HITCHBOT's legacy should be. Not the hilariously brutal death, but the crazy amount of love and support she's always had since standing on that highway in Halifax. You can find tons of videos of fans building their own HITCHBOT, and others, when talking about her death, actually be really sad about it. In fact, some Philadelphians would come together to rebuild their own HITCHBOT and even give building kits to children.
There's so much interest here and so much support. Like, people have been getting in touch with us like crazy.
Their reaction to what happened to HITCHBOT was kind of funny, but also a little sad.
If we can end the story, or at least the part that happens in Philly, if it ends on a positive note, that's what we want.
We're trying to find something that's scalable and maybe educational.
Even years later, people are still talking about HITCHBOT, and I'll fully admit, I went into this video thinking it was going to be about two professors in over their heads about a trash can with a light bright for a face. But I think HITCHBOT did a lot more for people than anyone realized. Because really, HITCHBOT did nothing. A robot who couldn't move on its own and relied entirely on the kindness of strangers made it through a whole country 3 times. Visiting landmarks, meeting tons of interesting people, poetically living more than some humans ever will. HITCHBOT's entire journey happened because of you, and them, and her, and all of these amazing people who took the time to help this little robot. HITCHBOT might not have changed the world, but I do think she changed a lot of people's lives. And that's pretty freaking cool for a hitchhiking robot. And that is the story of HITCHBOT. HITCHBOT 3 would end up touring in Paris, but unfortunately that would be cut short due to COVID. There are no future plans announced as of making this video, but I would love to see HITCHBOT travel again. Just, maybe avoid Philly this time, just a thought. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video on one of my favorite stories. And if you couldn't tell, yeah, I moved. So, sorry this video took so long to make, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I want to give a very special thank you to the amazing Jaden Can't Spell for some of the original music used in this video. Please go show him some love. Thank you again for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, I hope you have a fantastic day. Laters.
Hi, I'm Ty. This sounds so bad.